All right, so it looks like we are live. Let me click the thing so I can see the... See the chat. I got all my chats. Even though I'm live streaming on multiple platforms, I can see all my chats in one, which is really good. So I'm good to go. So, KingSithis Dave Smith debate was
Yeah.
man. So, KingSithis today. My name is KingSithis. Sheesh, man, it's been a long day for me. I don't even know what to say right now. The name is KingSithis. We are here live. This is debate and talk to Ancaps. We changed the room, but right now I guess we're waiting on somebody to change the room or agree to change the room or a moderator.
Hey, nice. You're live?
Yes, we are. How you doing?
Hello. Hello, people.
So, what do you know about Ancap?
Nothing. Can you enlighten me?
Sure. So, Ancap is short for anarcho-capitalist, libertarian. We are people who believe strongly in private property rights, the non-aggression principle, and self-ownership.
FCK.
You know, the non-aggression principle is that people do not have the right to initiate force against any innocent people. Or innocent person, I meant to say. And which would be, you know, taking their stuff or harming them in some way. And we are against the state. We're anarchists. The reason why we are against the state is because we believe that the state forcefully extracts our wealth through taxation, by force. They do not ask our permission. And they spend our money on things I'm sure we all would disagree. And, you know, if you don't pay, the state will take you and throw you into a cage. And if you resist, they will shoot you. Thus, making it theft.
Okay. What's your opinion on the Jewish Israel lobby?
I think that we should abolish any money that is given to any foreign power outs. I believe in abolishing the state completely. So that would entail us abolishing all of the money that's going to other countries, including Israel.
Wow, man. Nice. Okay.
And I believe in a no-state solution when it comes to the Israel-Palestine conflict.
Oh.
Yes.
Interesting. I'm not that much into politics, so I can't
Or the
talk
Alliance.
much.
Hell yeah. Well, actually, I'm with the Horde right now. Yeah, no, that's just why we're anarchists. We believe taxation is theft. You know, it's a forceful extraction of wealth by the state. It's immoral, evil,
Yeah, I agree with you. Right?
and a violation of our rights.
Oh, you think taxes are a violation of our rights?
100%.
Oh shit! Damn.
Yeah. Well, what will make you think otherwise?
I've never heard of that perspective.
Well, we're anarchists.
Maybe you're right.
I mean, let me ask you a question. Does the government come up to you and ask you, hey, can I take your money out of your paycheck? Let me ask you a question.
No. They just take it.
They just take that shit, right? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's theft, man. What if you don't want them to take that shit? Right?
Yeah, it's going towards stuff I don't want it to go towards.
Exactly. Like Israel, right?
Yeah, like wars and...
That's theft. You know? So because of that,
Yeah.
we're against the state. We believe the state should be abolished.
What is your plan of action, or what is your plan on creating this better future?
Ideally, we just privatize the functions of the state, whether it be the law enforcement, whether it be police, arbitration, you know, whatever it be, it could be privatized. What's
Okay.
going on? Our Aharanar? Anyways. Oh, the person left. So, Liquid Zulu's debate, huh? I think that overall I agree with his message, but
LOL.
I feel like he should have pushed back a little bit more on Dave Smith. I think that he was a little bit too passive. You know? And I think there was a lot of people that agreed with me on that. I was definitely looking at the comments, and I saw a lot of people making the comments like, yo, Zulu, speak up, speak up. So yeah. And Zulu, Dave Smith made Zulu, I feel, from a layman's perspective, seem a lot more unreasonable than he actually is. Because, you know, he didn't really have enough time to, or, I mean, he had time to defend himself, but he didn't really do it enough, you know, or concisely as I would have hoped. But I mean, I don't know, they're still going. The stream is still going. I kind of stopped watching because I wanted to live stream myself. And I'll watch the rest later, but I watched most of it. I got to the part pretty much to the end of it where Dave Smith was like, yeah, I don't want to debate this anymore. But no, I fundamentally, I think that the non-aggression principle is a principle that you follow under every situation. And it doesn't matter the situation. You know what I mean? You can't say you follow a ethic and then turn against that ethic once you find the consequences of that ethic to go against your feelings. Because then you're not really following the ethic. You're following your own ethic. You're following your whims. And sometimes the whims align with the non-aggression principle, right? But if your whims don't follow the non-aggression principle, then you're basically you're gonna not follow the non-aggression principle. So again, you're not, if you believe, like, if you go around the world acting like that, well, then you're not really a follower of the NAP. You're a follower of your whims or some other ethic. And I think that's the main point that I think Zulu was trying to push, which is essentially, you can't sit here and say you're a libertarian. Oh, I'm an ANCAP. I believe in libertarianism. I believe in the NAP, blah, 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 blah. But then when it makes you look bad, you turn around and say, actually, I would violate the NAP. Well, it's just like, okay, well, then you don't really follow the NAP. You follow your whims. And sometimes your whims align with the NAP. Right? And the libertarians are people that are supposed to align their legal system, their ethical system, right, with the non-aggression principle. Yeah. So, but the one thing that I just feel like, from watching the debate, I just feel like with all the shit that Zulu was talking about Dave Smith, I felt like he could have gotten out. I was expecting him to go a lot harder in this debate than he did. I was expecting him to go a lot harder. You know what I mean? Especially with all the shit that he was talking about him. But, you know, that's just me. Maybe I'm crazy. But fundamentally, that's Zulu. I think if it was me and fucking Dave Smith was misrepresenting me in that way, or trying to make me act in a certain way, like fundamentally, there are some arguments you just gotta own, right? Like if somebody were to come to me and say, "Hey, would you steal a penny to save your mother, or save the world, or save the thing?" You gotta just own that shit. No, fuck no. And you know why? Because I believe in the NAP. Right? You gotta own that shit. You know? But this is more an argument about tactics and not any disagreement on my part with Liquid Zulu in any way. Because I agree with him 100%. It was just more, I think, the way he presented himself in the debate. That I think he might have, or he could have improved upon. But the thing about Zulu is he's not a very, I guess he isn't always that aggressive. I mean, he just wasn't, or I guess he wasn't that aggressive in this debate. As I guess he is in other debates. I noticed that. Let me get the room invite. Oh, I just noticed that your other Discord guy is still in the master debaters. World of Warcraft, man. But fundamentally, the people who are the most consistent to their ideology, I think, are the ones that are correct. Or at least more correct. Doesn't really make much sense to hold an ethic that you can't even follow yourself. Zerka?
Yes.
Are you the real Zerka, or are you a what you call it, imposter?
I'm the real Zarka, man.
You're the real Zerka, man.
Christ is king, the earth is flat. I studied Freemasonry.
What do you think about ANCAP?
ANCAP? What is that?
Anarcho-capitalist.
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so we're anarchists and we believe in capitalism.
Right.
So an anarchist is a person who is against the state, who believes that the state is immoral and violates property rights. And in capitalism is basically free exchange of goods and services between private property owners. Or in other words, private owners owning the means of production.
Yeah, I'm anti-government too.
That's good. That's good. Well, you should join the anarcho-capitalists.
Commies
awesome.
in disguise.
Oh, he left. But our name got changed, so... Child Neglector, are you there? Are you, Wearing the sunglasses does get annoying after a while. But I realize when I take it off, it's like super fucking bright now. So, Debili, the Dubak, why do you hate watch me? Like, what did I do wrong? Why do I deserve this hate that you give me? When anybody gonna join? Fuck, man. Nice.
You offended my friend that told me what happened.
How did I offend your friend? What did I do? Fuck, bro.
You don't offend someone religion views just because you don't believe in anything or you have some party in your Discord and you want to be funny guy that kisses that Jew ass.
Well, I'm not religious personally, so I'm not on the either side, and I'm not on either side of the conflict on either Palestine or Israel, so yeah. So I did nothing wrong, bitches. Also, I'm allowed to make fun of... You can make fun of religious... What's wrong with making fun of religion? I shouldn't be allowed to make fun of religion? Do you not make fun of other people's religion?
I don't make fun of other people's beliefs, whatever they may be, as I said above, still sticks.
So never make fun of anyone's beliefs? Ever? So we should ban comedy? That doesn't make sense. What if someone's beliefs doesn't make sense? What if somebody believes the earth is flat? I can't make fun of flat earthers?
Yeah, I will stop hating you. I listened on your talks for like 2 months, never said a word as you know, until you did what you did.
I didn't do anything wrong.
Making fun of someone is a way of making yourself higher.
Well, I am higher than some people. Some people are stupid. What can I say?
What's the issue? Was it your God video?
I don't know. I don't even know. He hasn't really told me. I think he told me that basically I was making fun of religion, and then he said he's mad at me because I made fun of religion. And I'm just like, so what? I should be allowed to make fun of religion. You should be allowed to make fun of whatever beliefs you want.
Nah, that video was valid, he trippin'.
Yeah, it was definitely a valid video. And I have not heard a good rebuttal from it, other than... Well, I mean, there was some good rebuttals. There was
Think
some people...
what you want. Goodbye, racist fucks.
Alright, bye. Also, what did I say that was racist? I never said anything that's racist. I'm actually pretty anti-racist. Like, I ban racism in my Discord, so... I have a lot of black friends. They'll tell you, you know, that I'm never done anything racist in my life. Honestly, I'm just waiting for, I created a room in religion and politics, and I'm just waiting for somebody.
Thoughts on that Dave vs Zulu debate? I thought Zulu was way too passive.
100% agree. Zulu, way too passive. I know a lot of people, my friend disagreed with me on that. He felt like, oh, he did a great job. But I'm like, Zulu definitely needed to step up and be like, yeah, this is what I believe. Here's where you're inconsistent. Here's where I'm right. Here's where you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, but he was kind of just too in the back, just not really talking. And the moderator, like, it almost felt like, and sometimes, like, the moderator was almost debating Zulu. too, and then there was some times where the moderator was almost making Zulu's points for him. Or they were just asking him basically the same question over and over and over again. And I feel like Zulu just didn't really have a good explanation. Or his explanations were too spread apart, so it wasn't like, I don't know. I think he could have done better personally. And this is coming from a guy that agrees with Zulu 100%. I think he needed to be a little bit more aggressive. What's going on, Ace? What's going on, Heyo Dia? Hello.
Yo, what's up?
What's going on?
Not much.
I'm an Ancap.
Nice. I'm an objectivist.
You're an objectivist.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. What do you think about Ancap?
I don't think it's practical, but I think Ancaps are my allies, so it's fine.
That's cool. Cool. I mean, I'm not an objectivist myself, mainly because I don't really know much about it. So,
It's alright.
and so I feel like some objectivists act very cultish, too. So.
We don't mind being told that. It's okay.
But I like Liquid Zulu, and he's an Ancap. I mean, he's an objectivist. Do you know him?
I know about Zulu.
Yeah. Where are you from? You sound like you got like an accent. Is that like German?
The Caribbean.
Got you. I'm not very good with accents, so forgive me.
It's alright. It doesn't matter, bro. You just words, bro.
No problem. What do you think about prostitution?
Good.
W.
Yeah.
Shit, we need to get somebody in here that disagrees. You know what I mean? What disagrees with us? Does Ace? What do you think?
Did you ever see that Jay Dyer versus Adam Kokesh debate on anarcho-capitalism?
No.
No, probably not.
It was a while ago, but I felt like there was some of the best arguments laid out against ANCAP in that debate. I don't think I'm capable of rehashing it here, though.
No problem.
It's okay.
I'll maybe go watch it myself later when I have the time.
Yeah, what do you think about Adam Kokesh? He's kind of disappeared now, right?
I haven't heard much about him. I don't know much about him myself personally. I'm more of a I kind of follow people like Liquid Zulu, Rothbard. Well, not Roth. I mean, he's not around anymore, but I read a lot of his
Larkin
books.
Rose, maybe?
Mises, and I like Hoppa and Stefan Kinsella, people like that.
Yeah, I've read all those guys. Larkin Rose? Are you like Gen Z?
I was born in '97.
Yeah. So I guess I could ask a simple question about prostitution. You guys brought it up.
Sure.
What do you think about the like sort of economic externalities of I guess you could classify it as like degenerate behavior, like prostitution and gambling, drug abuse, these sorts of things, and how they can negatively affect a society. Do you think that like a society that does not have these things or allow them can sort of like outcompete societies that have these things?
I mean, the thing is, you can remove those things or have societies without those things without the state making it or banning it outright or violating people's rights. For instance, like if we made like every drug legal tomorrow, do you think people in the Amish country are just going to go out and just start shooting heroin, and they're just going to have a heroin epidemic within the Amish areas, right? No, and the reason why is because those people, they have a value system that is highly against doing drugs and things like that. So they would never allow in their communities for the use of drugs ever. You know what I mean? And that's like kind of the
Right.
idea of covenant communities. That's like basically Hapa. He basically came up with the idea of covenant communities, where it's like if you're the owner. Well, the issue is like our main issue with the state is we don't believe that they are the just owner of the land. They are violators. They stole the land. They forcefully extract our wealth. They are not the private property owners of the land, so they don't have the right to extract our
Right.
wealth.
Yeah, I'm familiar with everything you
Yeah.
said so far. Maybe I can skip ahead here and ask.
Oh,
questions.
sorry. I don't know how familiar you are. I just started talking to you. You know.
Oh
what
yeah,
I mean? Yeah.
yeah. You're good. You're good.
So not to treat you like an idiot or anything like that. But to
I
go
guess
on to the
just-
covenant community thing, I was just gonna say one last thing. Like you can have
Yeah.
things like covenant community where you're the property owner, and then you could be like, we don't want any heroin use on my property, and then like any person that uses it, you could kick them off or something like that. You know.
Right. So I can redirect the conversation two ways, I guess. One way is like, what do you personally think about prostitution? Because I think guy here, he said good, right? And you were like W, but like on sort of like a moral level, like a personal level, not so much a legalistic framework. Do you still think it's good, personally?
Well,
And then,
I think people. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, we can answer this first.
No, I was just gonna say, like personally, I would say probably shouldn't get a prostitute. Probably should get a wife or something like that, or a girlfriend. You know, or I mean, if you want to do that, that's up to you. But so I guess that's my personal opinion. But legally, I would say when it comes to like legal stuff, you know, I would say if you're not violating anyone's rights, if you're not initiating force in the sense that you're not forcing anyone in the transaction in any way, then I would have to say, you know, I may not like it, but they're not. They shouldn't be stopped.
Yeah, you would take like a Walter Block defending the undefendable stance on this.
Because you know, fundamentally, law shouldn't be about like, oh, I think that's nasty, or I think that's disgusting, or I think people shouldn't do that, right? It's about whether or not you've initiated some sort of force against another person or their property. And now that's not to say that there aren't ways to limit that behavior. For instance, if you live in an area that's highly religious, you can have covenant communities. You could have people who be like, hey, we're not going to sell to you if you engage in this, you know, sort of, you know, you have social ostracism, things like that. You can discriminate in your business, say, I don't want these type of people in my business. So, you know, we're not against discrimination. So, yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess I'll just make the point. It's not so much of a debate here, but I just feel like there's a lot of naivete in the anarcho-capitalist community surrounding, I guess, like moral type behaviors. By moral, I mean like sort of subjective personal values and such, not so much the ethical legal framework. And sort of like an over acceptance of these things. But yeah, I haven't read like Hape recently. I know he's really gone off on more of the traditional route regarding a lot of these things within the ANCAP framework. So, okay, let's say we do have a covenant community. A huge difficulty of having a covenant community would be owning all of the land in a certain area, because there will be pockets that like you just can't really purchase, right? And that will be in like people's neighborhoods and everything. And then they could turn into like hubs of, you know, things that violate the core principles of the covenant community, like, you know, free sex or drugs or gambling, whatever, right? And that can really damage a covenant community as well. And there's no real good solution there within the framework. I guess you would just say, well, you know, they'll just figure out a way to deal with it or something, but it still is like quite problematic, in my opinion.
There's a really simple solution here. You need to stop thinking that you need to save people and let people live their lives and die if they want to die. It's that simple. The only responsibility of government is to enforce individual rights ruthlessly and brutally. Anybody wants to take drugs or do whatever they want to do, let them do that and let them hurt only themselves. As long as they don't hurt anyone else, it doesn't matter what they do with their life. Simple.
I agree with that premise 100%, but I think to I guess to more hyper focus on your your specific argument. I think that fundamentally there are going to be situations where you may live next to somebody who does something that you may not find appropriate or you may not like, right? But fundamentally, you choose where you want to live. You have a choice. You can either live next to that person and accept their lifestyle if you want to live there, or you can move somewhere and buy land far away from those people and make your own choice, right? So in life, yeah, there's sometimes you have to make sacrifices, right? But that is what comes with freedom. Freedom always comes with a cost, right? And sometimes it could be a little problematic, right? But life, there's no it's all about trade-offs, right? There's no perfect solution.
All right, so I think like just as an example, Jay Dyer in that debate gave the example of like, say if somebody rents out a billboard or buys a billboard or puts up a billboard, they could put like a giant dildo on there, other extremely vulgar acts, and according to this legalistic framework, the surrounding community just has to deal with it. Like they can't do anything about it except maybe try to pay them.
Well, they could look
in
away.
some way to stop this.
Why is sex so
I mean, they could
bad?
look away.
Why is it so bad for a child to see porn? Why is it so bad
I
for a
mean,
child to see porn?
That's a different topic to get into. I don't want to get into that, like, too hard here, but-
to harp on his point, like, I don't think he's saying, oh, sex is bad. He's just saying that there are certain things that people do that he finds really, really inappropriate, and he finds it's kind of problematic to just let people do. So, is that what you're saying, Ace? Right?
His sensibilities are not policy drivers.
No, I agree with
They're
that. So here's what I would say to that, right? Fundamentally, there are things that people do that are very inappropriate, right? I would say that probably putting up a billboard that like people having sex or like a bunch of dildos probably next to a place where there's maybe school children around, right? Just to give it a crazy example, right? Obviously something like that it's maybe inappropriate, right? But when you're talking about law, right? When you're talking about law, there has to be a victim in order for there to be a crime. If there's no victim, there's no crime. If a person looks at something that might be obscene, you're not doing, and it may make them feel a certain type of way, right? You can't really point to any measurable damage being done to that person by that person because of that person's actions. All you're doing is like, I put a billboard on my property. They didn't like the look of it. So for instance, another example would be like, let's say I just really, really hate yellow socks, right? I think that, yellow socks are really disgusting, and I find it just to be super obscene for anyone to wear yellow socks. Should I now prohibit people who are walking on their property from wearing yellow socks because the thought of me or seeing yellow socks just really messes with me, So, like it's similar to that, right?
Yeah, I understand. You derive the rights based on self-ownership and property ownership.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as those two things are not violated, then it is legally acceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I would just, I guess, if I was to keep this discussion going, go down the route of the, like, I guess, competitive aspects of these sorts of things in a society that has, like, sort of a social code of conduct that's more efficient, we could say, will end up outcompeting their neighbors, and then just historically speaking, they end up taking them over at some point, So I think that's why, if I extrapolated upon that, I could elaborate why anarcho-capitalism really hasn't worked writ large, per se.
Well, it's never,
But you would just say,
I hate to be that guy, right? But it hasn't really been tried that much.
Yeah, I mean, part of why I would say is also just, it's not really like how humans work on long time frames, Especially
No, I
when
think
things
the
get
issue
hard
is that
and food
most people don't
scarce or
really know
whatever
much
else.
about it. Most people don't understand ANCAP. They don't know what it's about. They don't know anything about it. So, obviously new ideas that come out, not many people are going to adopt it as easily. But you could say that the same thing about socialism. Socialism wasn't adopted until it was tried out. It was niche until it was tried out. So maybe there will be. I mean, we went from nobody ever knowing anything about ANCAP to having many people who are in the spotlight being ANCAP, as well as us having a self-professed ANCAP president in Argentina. I mean, so yeah, eventually.
Yeah, but he's not really ANCAP in practice.
Well, that's why I said self-professed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so are you more of like a Rothbardian ethics of liberty guy or David Friedman machinery of freedom guy?
Murray Rothbard.
Okay. So would you still have like competing DROs and such?
Yeah.
So what prevents like a DRO from, say they have like a big contract and there's some big disputes and they can sort of like cheat around the edges a little bit, right? And maybe violate the NAP in some small ways, but they get like a big payout. Like what's preventing them from doing that?
Of becoming a monopoly on force?
Yeah, any sort of corruption or just, like maybe this guy like actually initiated force, but they're paid to defend him. And so they just defend him and it's kind of gray, but like they still, are going to do the wrong thing, but they get the big payout. You know what I'm saying? So what prevents them from becoming corrupt generally?
Well, it's never impossible for a private company to do something that's illegal or violate people's rights. But I would argue that it is much less probable than a state would. Well, fundamentally, out the bat, a state is a criminal organization that violates your rights on the outset. They force you to pay regardless of whether you want the service or don't want the service. Whereas a private company... there are private companies that do violate rights, but on the outset, they're not out to violate your rights. They're out to make a profit. And if protecting your rights is profitable, which it will most certainly be under an ANCAP society, what you're going to see is it more often than not people protecting rights because most people want their rights to be protected as opposed to being violated. So because of that, you're more often than not going to see people protecting property rights than violating property rights. So another thing is just like thinking of it like this is like if you have competing firms in the market, if there's very few times in a free market instances in a free market where you see what you call monopolies arise, which are very small markets, very itty-bitty markets where you only see a few people. And there's only like one grocery store in the area. So because of that, there's a monopoly in the market. And then there's what you call new to the market. Like when you bring a new good to the market, that also creates a likelihood of monopolization. And the reason why that is because not likelihood, because you're new to the market. You're the first person to put out that market. So therefore put that thing to the market, thus making you a monopoly. But even in situations like that, generally the incentive is not to raise your prices to exorbitant amounts or screw over your customer base because of what we call the potential for competition. So if you're a new person that is putting out into the market, goods in the market, or you're a one seller in a small market, you're not just going to turn around and immediately just sell your goods at the most exorbitant price or try to screw over your push, because there's always the potential for somebody to come in and outsell you and outcompete you, and put out a product, the same product, and people are able to move away from your services and move to that one. Whereas with the state, they can sort of externalize their costs onto another person by forcing them to pay taxes. So if you're a business, you're going to be less incentivized to go to war with another business, because going to war, you actually have to pay for all the fighters, the weapons, the machinery, and all of that stuff to go to war with that business. And then you have to raise your cost, which means raising your premiums on the people whom are selling to you, which will then incentivize them to move to another business that has lower premiums and doesn't go to war. So because you can't externalize your costs by forcing people to go to business to pay for your war, it's going to incentivize you even less to go to war because of that situation. Whereas the state, they don't really they're not as disincentivized to go to war, because they could just be like, hey, we're going to force you to pay, and we're going to conscript you and force you to go to war to fight our battles on top of that. Whereas private businesses can't really do that.
So yeah, I hear your argument, and like definitionally, definitely the ANCAP system by definition is like better, right? I'm not trying to say otherwise, but like I didn't really hear like what is the ethos, like what is the moral fiber that is the backbone that gives the people the resistance from slipping into corruption.
Well, competition.
You know, like I like
the fact that you
competition
can
help.
move
I think
to
I
another
think you need-
business.
what I'm leaning towards is like an educated populace, like a literate, well-read, sort of like versed, and has like core values behind them, like, you know
Well,
what I mean?
fundamentally, you would need a group, a people that, you know how. Well, you got to think about it like this, right? What is the Constitution? It's just a piece of paper, right? The only reason why the Constitution is meaningful is because there's enough people in this country, or at least in the United States, that believe in it to make the difference, right? So I believe you can have something similar to that with the non-aggression principle. For it to work, you sort of have to have enough people that believe in it to sort of make a difference. The message of the day, the belief of the day, you know, the value of the day, which is the Constitution, right? Freedom of speech,
Exactly,
free
yeah.
association, things, those values. That's sort of the idea of the day, or the message. I don't know what they normally say, right? But I'm sure you get the gist. But if we sort of change the minds enough that enough people believed in the non-aggression principle, I think we could make the difference. We could definitely make a difference in that way. So yeah, I think we definitely need enough people that believe in the NAP to make a difference.
So I guess what I'm kind of like leaning towards here is like it would be similar to like a religious setup in a sense, where like you would want to have as part of your society like people like learning about the religion, learning about the laws, like learning about the ideology, the values and such, right? And raising children with these things, and
Yeah.
I guess you could say indoctrinating them into it almost. Because without that, I think it would just fall apart, right? So you need almost like Rothbard's Ethics of Liberty is, you know, like
Would be
your
our
Old
our
Testament or
Bible,
something like
basically,
this,
a
right?
man economy of
You know,
state.
yeah,
Yeah, essentially.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I find it interesting. I do think though that like say like you do have a society that does follow these things, right, and does have this setup. There will be another society naturally that will be around that will not have the same ideology, and then in places of conflict, the ANCAPs will be very like passive and very like technical about what's a violation and not. And so if there is some sort of like war fighting, they'll kind of be fighting with like one arm tied behind their back, right? And then they'll like likely end up just losing, all things equal. And then like the society will no longer be ANCAP. That's kind of how I see a lot of these things.
Well, I would disagree in the one sense that the state is the one. I would say that the state is the one that has one arm tied behind their back, in the sense that the state has to deal with the economic calculation problem, whereas private businesses do not. So they, because of prices and coordinating the economy, showing the most value productive route, it allows private companies to know what people want. So if people invading, obviously people don't want to be invaded, so they will probably be willing to pay higher premiums to have their private companies basically do what they can to keep them safe, especially if there are people coming in and violating their rights. And not only that, but it would be they would have, like, the thing about private businesses is if they become overwhelmed, they could just hire backup contractors or other people hire other backup contractors to basically help them out. Or they could just side up with other security companies and gather up together to sort of take them out. Or they could just do things like guerrilla warfare.
I mean, states can do that as well. But okay, at least can you grant me that anarcho-capitalism in particular will be fighting with, say, its right hand tied behind its back in a different way than a state is sort of fighting with its left hand tied behind its back, right? Because they have the economic calculation problem, so on and so forth. And then you guys have like
What do
laws
Ancaps
of
think
warfare,
about
rules of
luxury
warfare,
beliefs?
and whatnot that are also very limiting, and you have a different sort of set of limitations.
Well, what do you
right?
think is limiting us?
Well, let's see. Say like you have a group of people, some robbers that come in, and they steal stuff, but you don't really have enough evidence to pinpoint exactly who it is, so you don't really know. Like you have a pretty good idea, but you can't prove it, right?
Mhm.
And so you can't really do anything about it at that rate, right? Whereas if you were more of a state type setup, and say this has been a repeated problem, but you don't have conclusive proof, you could still they could just take action. You know what I mean?
I don't think it's good to allow a state to take action against another person if you don't have evidence of their crime.
Yeah, but like I'm talking on a civilizational competitive level, right? So you have like one village and then even a neighboring village. One village is like religious whatever's like some religious fanatics in some form. And then you have the Ancaps, right? The religious fanatics are like, oh, these people are evil, whatever, they don't believe in God the way we do, and we want to like dominate them. And so part of what they do is they go in with their masks on and whatever, and let's say like for whatever reason there's not enough technology, not enough cameras, not enough yada yada yada, and they're able to occasionally go in and steal like high value things from some of like the plants there or something like this, right? And the Ancaps cannot prove this, that it's them, but they basically know it's them.
Well, how do they know
You can
if they
see
can't
this
prove it?
hypothetical situation developing, right? Well, because you can have circumstantial evidence and so on and so forth. Maybe there's rumors.
Well, then that
you
is
heard
evidence.
as well, and other
I'll
things.
ask again later.
It's not conclusive
Enjoy your
enough to
Ant-Man
take action
computer
according
game.
to ANCAP.
Well, I mean, obviously isn't that true in a statist system? Like if you can't just make accusations without evidence.
Yes. But warfare is very messy in particular, and a lot of the time, like innocents are targeted as like unfortunate byproducts of the war, right? But an ANCAP has to be like individually analyzing every person they go after, scrupulously, and upholding the ANCAP values while they go about it, and that limits their
Well, we would have
effective power.
private courts, and private courts are more efficient than public courts. So
I think you're missing the point here. I'm not denying that private courts are generally much more efficient than public courts. But
yeah, but the whole idea is like, oh, then we're gonna I think we need to like if there's a group of people that I think are doing bad things and I don't have any evidence, it kind of upsets me that I can't use the government to throw them in prison anyways. That's basically what you're saying.
I don't think you're seeing my full point here.
No,
I'm not sure how to
tell me
portray
where
it in a
I'm
way that
wrong.
you Okay, I need to simplify this to like a Robinson Crusoe type thing.
Okay.
Yeah, this is gonna be tough. I'm gonna have to like mute and think for a bit. Maybe I can formulate something here.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say you're stranded on an island. There's only 3 people on this island. It's you, your brother, and some stranger who happened to be on the boat with you that you all got stranded on the island with. And you and your brother, like, you trust him, you know him well. Maybe there's a couple other people, I guess, to make this work. But anyways, like, the people you're with, like, you're pretty certain they would never steal from you, right? And you have a big stash of coconuts.
Excuse me.
And then the coconuts go missing, right? And there's this one sketchy dude that's been talking about the coconuts, eyeballing those coconuts, whatever, right? And you're like, okay. And then half the coconuts go missing one night. And you're like pretty sure it's this dude. There's no other person that probably did it, but maybe there's like another person on the opposite side of the island that could have or something.
No, wait a minute.
So
you could prove you
it.
could use that you could use that as evidence if there's nobody else on the island.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and then,
I understand that. So I'm gonna throw in. There's also a couple other people like on the far side of the island, but you don't always know that they're there. They could have came over, right? And so the guy denies it completely every time.
Well, then what you could do is you could take it to a court, right? Or you could take it to a third party, an unbiased third party, and then you could tell him your story, and then he could tell him their story, and then they'll make a decision, and then you could either follow that decision, and that's it.
Right. So, I mean, what are the thresholds of confidence required in the court under anarcho-capitalism?
Well, the law would be based on the non-aggression principle, but the threshold that you need in order to convince a judge depends on the judge.
Yeah, but like
I can't. There is no like it really just depends on the arbitrator or the court what the criteria
yeah,
is.
but
or
so
the level of
you have to
evidence.
all agree. You have to all sort of agree beforehand to an arbitrator in the first place, right? But what if they don't agree to the same arbitrator? And then
Well, that's why insurance companies would most likely have before agreements that you would sign before you get their insurance, saying that, hey, if you get into a dispute, you have to go to our court, and then
You look like your name is.
Yeah, I could see that
Paul.
working, but like in this situation, there's nothing like this. You're on an island, right? So I'm looking for the principles of anarcho-capitalism.
Well,
fleshed out here
whoever
without
violated
all
the
this
NAP
insurance
is the
company
one in the
stuff.
wrong.
Yes. Okay. So
No, my name is not
let's
Paul.
use this specific. We're using this specific example here now. So, like, where do you take him to court? Number one, can you even legally take
Well,
him
on
to
an
court if he doesn't
island,
want to?
I don't think
Yes.
there is a court on an island. Maybe you could just go to
Right.
a third party and be like, hey, what do you think we should do? And then you can follow what he says.
So you got like a family of 4 people there. Maybe one of them is like kind of scholarly and learned in the ways of Rothbard and Mises and whatever, and he's kind of the go-to guy generally that you use. But he is not really having any of it. He's just doing his own thing. Like, as far as you know, he follows the NAP, but you're really sus about him, yeah? So like, what you can't take him to court under the NAP in the first place, right? If you haven't proven anything. You can't force him to go to court.
I mean,
right?
you could take anyone for court for anything. I mean,
Okay,
whether
isn't that a violation of the NAP?
whether or not you prove anything is another thing.
No. Can you take him by force?
Well, not take him
He's
by
not
force.
consent him to court.
I mean, if he,
Yeah, so he's not
if
consenting to
you
court.
you could charge some, you could go to a court, and then if that person, if you prove to that court that they violated that person's rights, and that person doesn't show up to represent himself, well, then that's kind of on him.
Under what? Who wrote about this? Who are you following that has this ideology, this rationale?
This is just the fact of there's a lot of people who write on private. Friedman writes on private security. Hoppe has a book on private how private security would work. I'm pretty sure you would like Hoppe because he's more conservative. But
Okay.
yeah, those are
So-
and then there's a YouTube video that I can.
Okay,
send
so
you.
expanding on the first principles here of self-ownership and private property ownership. Homeboy denies doing anything. You don't have conclusive evidence.
Well,
you
then
go
that's
to
on
a
you.
court thing about this.
It's on the
Yeah, you go to a court
So the
thing about
person
this.
making the accusation, the person who's making the accusation, unless they have evidence, then the person who is accused will be assumed to be innocent unless proven guilty.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to get here in this
Mhm.
example. So, does this meet the threshold of proving his guilt?
I'm not going to be able to give you an answer for this, right? It depends on the situation.
not?
Because I'm not a judge.
Well, I explained the situation. What else do you need to know about the situation? Like, I would say,
Well, it depends on whether or
Like, you
not.
guys
Well,
basically know,
did he
you
steal it?
well, I mean, we could say yes, he stole it.
Okay,
but
then he
you-
violated the NAP and he's guilty.
So you see what I'm saying, though? Like, you don't have the cheat code answer to this in real life. And
Well,
so,
nobody does.
Like, you're going to have to, exactly. And so you're going to have to make a decision regardless without the full knowledge of the situation.
Well, if
And
you
what
don't
I'm
have any
getting at
evidence,
here-
then what decision you make?
what?
Not guilty.
Okay, but you have evidence. It's not that you have
Do you
no
have evidence?
You have evidence.
Oh, well, then if you
It's
have evidence,
circumstantial, largely.
if you have evidence, enough evidence to prove that he's guilty, well, then he's guilty. There you go.
Okay, so in like various religious traditions, they have thresholds of confidence that must be reached. Like a certain number of witnesses for various crimes, like 1 or 2
It depends
or 3
on the
or 4
court.
or whatever, right?
Each court will have their own threshold, and then
Yeah,
you
or
could
the
choose which
religion.
court or religious court
Yes,
or
yes.
whatever. Because you could have a religious court if you're religious.
What
And
are
then they
the-
would
the
set their
guidelines?
threshold.
So what are the threshold guidelines in anarcho-capitalism?
Don't violate the non-aggression principle.
No, but like, you can't prove everything completely in real life. I
That's
don't
why you
see
have-
how you're
that's why
not
you have
seeing what I'm
courts.
leaning towards here.
That's why you have courts.
I'm sorry. I think you're not understanding what I'm saying here.
Yes, obviously you can't prove every single claim in every situation. Yeah, but that's true of every system. That's why you have courts.
Yes, but Homeboy doesn't agree to follow your court.
Well, then if he
precedence,
doesn't go to the
right?
court, and the court determines that he's guilty based on the evidence, then that private security agency that's representing him would have full right to extract the restitution that person deserves based on the evidence that they violated that person's rights.
Okay, great. So different private security agencies will have different thresholds of confidence required until they act, right?
Well, it depends on the court.
Exactly what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
There will be variations of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, which variation, based on first principles, is the true
The
one,
non-aggression
right? Because
principle.
some courts. So what I'm saying is, like, the court will have to act regardless in the real world, right? But like, proof is something that is almost impossible to achieve,
That's not true.
right? Because things could be AI, things could be,
That's not true.
hallucinated, whatever. Well, let's just say incredibly difficult.
Well,
okay?
yes, you can't always
In a
prove
lot of
everything with a
cases.
shadow of a doubt, but sometimes
Yes.
there are pieces of evidence that rise to the level of certainty. Now, am I going to be able to give you a solid yes or no answer as to what is going to happen in every single case? Well, obviously not. But again, I'm just going to give you the same answer to the same question that you've given me already like 5 times, which is, what's the threshold? Well, I don't know. It depends on the courts. That's the purpose of courts, to settle disputes over scarce resources. What they do is they look over the evidence and they make a determination. I can't give you a solid answer for every single court. And the principle, okay, then I'll answer the question that you've already given me 4 times and I've already answered 4 times, which is the threshold that they go based off of is the non-aggression principle. And each business that does arbitration may have a different threshold. That's what, and fundamentally, it's better than what we currently have. And the reason why it's better than what we currently have is because the state sets a certain threshold.
I get that. Yeah.
The state sets a certain threshold, and then they enforce that threshold upon everyone, even if it's incorrect or immoral.
So I'm trying to like formulate this in like an abstract way. I'm just trying to give. There's an abstract situation where you have only so much confidence here, and at some level you will say, okay, this person cannot be prosecuted, right? And then I'll try to give another example that has a bit more confidence and a bit more confidence and a bit more confidence. I'm looking for that threshold. What I'm hearing from you is, number one, like certainty, and then the NAP, right? Where is that threshold of certainty?
Yeah, I've already answered this question, so I think with what I've told you, I'm pretty sure you should be able to answer your question by yourself. If not, then I don't know what to tell you. Unless you want me to repeat myself like a parrot.
No, I don't think we're making progress in the conversation.
My only argument, again, so
Yeah.
I'll just say it one last time. I can't give you a pinpoint threshold that proves whether or not a person commits what crime or not crime. That's, again, why we have courts. That's where you show your evidence, and then they make a decision based on that evidence. Right? And that's true of any system. There is no system in the world in which you could prove anything with 100% absolute certainty. That's why we have courts.
All right. Well, I can take this in a related direction here, I suppose. Maybe that we can have some progress there.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say a court finds an individual guilty. The individual knows he's not guilty without a shadow of a doubt, right? The court made a very rare blunder. They had a false positive, right? And that will happen. You agree? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a false positive here, and guy knows he's 100% innocent, and he's going to fight like to the death over this so that he is not punished, right? That is like, as a net whole to the society, can be quite damaging, because you can never have a court that's 100% accurate, and then there will be people doing sort of like vigilante defense regarding this, because they are in the right as well, and they're not violating any of the principles of the society. But that society might end up having a lot of infighting within them, because they don't sort of like submit to the courts even when they're wrong.
Yeah, but that's like saying, oh yeah, we should never charge anyone with anything because there's always a chance that you could be wrong. Well, it's like, yes, but we have to do something about people who commit crimes. And if there's enough evidence to meet the threshold for that court to make that decision, and you feel like they're wrong, on an ANCAP stand, there would always be some way for you to challenge that, maybe with some other court, with a private security agency. Whereas with the state, when they make a decision, it's completely final, and regardless of whether you're right or wrong. And even if they admit that they're wrong, they don't have to necessarily do anything for you. Whereas under a private system, if they are wrong and they're shown to be wrong, they would have to pay you restitution for the crime they committed against you.
So I would just say that, like, in this specific dynamic, it can be beneficial for society to have a system of court wherein even if the court is rarely wrong, when the court is wrong, the unjustly punished individual acquiesces, and this prevents the infighting and, like, you know, internal societal destruction that can otherwise
that's kind of,
happen.
what do you mean
What
do you mean acquiesce? What do you mean by that? What does that mean?
Like let's say, yeah, you're living in America or
Most
wherever
wouldn't be
nowadays,
able
right?
to afford
And
to pay
you're
back.
found guilty of a crime that you did not do, but you know that you can't fight back against the state because you're just an individual and you don't have like an army behind you or anything, and so you just go to jail and serve your time, and then you leave, right? And that's a horrible thing, but the net negative could be like, well, a lot of individuals just in sort of in the ANCAP world, we will end up combating with, you know, the forces that are enforcing justice. And so there's always sort of this friction between the individual.
Well, I think that fundamentally
and the
you can't
justice
just make
system in a lot of
accusations and
ways.
throw people in jail based off a whim. You have to prove it. And, you know, you can't just throw people in jail because you have based on a whim.
Yes, no, I understand, but we both agree there will be false positives.
Of course, there's going to be false positives in every situation. But again, you have to... But that doesn't take away from the fundamental point that I do think you need evidence before you throw somebody in jail.
Obviously, I understand that. I just don't see... I'm looking at these things from the framework of, like, evolutionary competitiveness. You know, you have society A and society B. The net ramification of, like, the society B's setup, quote unquote, is that, like, you're gonna have, like, pros and cons to ANCAP, right? You're gonna have, like, no violations of the NAP generally is the standard that everybody holds, but at the same time, that will come with costs in small ways here and there. And this is one of the possible
Freedom
small
comes with
costs
the cost.
that will be a net negative to the society. Yeah,
Freedom
yeah,
comes
no,
with the
I'm,
cost.
so
But it's a
I'm
cost
not
I'm willing
saying
to
this-
pay.
yes. So I'm not saying this destroys the ANCAP arguments or anything like this, but I'm just looking
know.
at subtle dynamics of friction
That's
that
why
will
I use
appear
the...
within the system.
That's why I kind of use the Captain America quote. You know, I'm acknowledging your argument, but I'm saying, what I'm saying is that, you know, it's a price I'm willing to pay. That's all I'm saying.
Right. And that's like what, you know, a similar thing happened with freedom in the West as well, right? Like, with freedom comes costs. Like, everybody can own guns, and so anybody could shoot anybody, right?
I thought it was a Ben Franklin quote.
Overall net benefits, you would say.
I heard that from Ben. I heard that from Captain America. Was that a Ben Franklin quote? I didn't know that. I heard that from. Sorry, that was my chat telling me that. But hey, like you could say this, right? You could say like, oh well, you know, letting people have cars, you know, that increases the likelihood of people getting into car accidents, right? So we shouldn't let people drive cars, you know, because if we get rid of cars, there would be no car accidents.
Essential liberties
you know?
and shit.
So I think like, yeah, but letting people, what I would say to that is just like, yeah, but like letting people be free increases the likelihood of people getting into car accidents, right? But sometimes having freedom comes with a risk. It comes with a cost, right? But sometimes, but I'm okay with that. You know, I'm okay with letting people drive, you know, even if sometimes it causes accidents.
Right. And so I also understand your system will have specific courts and insurance companies and whatnot that people will like subscribe to, and they will pre-agree to resolve a dispute according to this court or whatever, right? And that will cancel out much of this problem. But there are also going to be communities that
Those are
interact
edge
that have
cases.
no pre-agreed upon. Yeah, there are going to be people. Yeah, edge cases where people don't have a pre-agreed upon court system that they subscribe to, or will defer to for the ruling, and that will be a serious sort of friction. So in those cases, I'm curious, where can I read about when there is no pre-agreed upon court between two parties? Like, how does the court system actually judge things and resolve things and like do the legalistic ruling and standards of threshold?
Well, do you read
witnesses,
books?
whatever, right?
Or do you want me to send you like a YouTube video?
Either one.
Okay, so I could send you a YouTube video. There's a YouTube video that's like 20 minutes long. That's pretty good. It's called Law Without Government. I'll send it to you through your DMs. Copy. That is a really good video. And then there's Hoppa. What is it called? Private defense or something like that. There's a Hans. I'm trying to find the book. Case Against. But he has a book called The Private Production of Defense. There we go. Ah, perfect. There you go. That one's like an hour long book. This book is like an hour long. So those are the two main things that definitely can help you out. And then there's more videos.
Awesome, thank you.
Let's see. Check my playlist. Anarcho videos.
Who do you think the smartest person in the world?
So I guess my overarching argument, if I was making one here, is that I would just say like the friction that it would be in the anarcho-capitalist system that other systems don't have would sort of deselect the anarcho-capitalist society for reproduction, because they will be outcompeted, like just all things equal, and looking at like history and timelines and I don't know, periods of starvation when people are just crazy and you know, like the loss of general order and whatnot. I feel like the anarcho-capitalist system can be quite weak in a lot of circumstances.
No, I don't think I think it'll win.
Right, yeah. So this is obviously a very, very difficult conversation to have. You know, the cause-effect relationship is very complex and nuanced, and you'd have to talk about many, many, many things.
Yeah. I think Ancap is the best. I think it is fundamentally, I think ethically it is the best.
So I think it is viable in the modern world. But yeah, it would just sort of depend upon like having alliances with neighbors or like treaties with neighbors and things like, or like you just have a setup where foreign powers don't really invade or whatever. If you had a setup like that, I think Ancapism could succeed in certain areas, and I think there's definite possibility for it to be experimented with and to be viable.
I think what we need to do is just got to convince people, bro. Got to convince people.
Yeah, there was a big push, man, back in
Make some
like
covenant communities.
Like the 2012 days. Anarcho-capitalism seemingly was rising incredibly fast, but it kind of fell off a cliff. It really kind of around the time like when Trump came in, it seemed like the community sort of fell apart in a lot of ways.
Because of the state. I blame the state.
How so?
Because they came in and were like, oh my god, these guys are competing with us, and then they came in with guns and then stopped it.
Where?
In America.
Where? I mean, what do you mean? Like what?
They say
like,
the
what
Wild
events
West
or
was. They say
whatever?
that the Wild West was pretty ANCAP.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is true.
But then the state came. They made the state, and then it ruined it.
Yeah, but not like 2012, 2016 time frame.
Oh no, bro, that was like the 1800s or some shit.
Yeah. No, what I'm saying is like a lot of people thought like, hey, you know, like Ron Paul almost got elected, and like libertarianism is on the rise hugely, and like there was a big push, and people kind of felt like, yeah, maybe like we're gonna win, like we're gonna like achieve a threshold of like convincing the masses, or maybe Free Keene or something will like actually, you know, kind of take over the area. But nothing came of it, and the hype really fell off a cliff.
I think we just need to be more hardcore ANCAPs. We need more hardcore ANCAPs that are like, you know, that are like hardcore on the principles and the beliefs and are pushing for anarcho-capitalism and aren't just being, you know, yeah.
So how's it gone for you? Have you gotten a lot of converts?
I hope so. I hope so. Because I've just been, mainly the idea for me is just pushing the idea out there. Getting our name on the map. Because most people don't even know what ANCAP even is. So the idea is just like to push the idea out there. And try to get as many people to know it and not think it's just a joke ideology like a lot of people assume it is. And I think that's kind of like what I try to do, is try to just show people, hey, like, you know, people actually do believe in ANCAP. Yeah.
Is there any projects in the works to make something like that happen? There was like Liberland before. There was some hype about seasteading.
It's Prospera.
What's up with that?
It's basically in Honduras. They kind of have like a similar to ANCAP. Honduras. It's basically like a private city. Yeah. Private city in Honduras.
All right, I'll check it out.
Mm-hmm. And I sent you a link to it. It's pretty dope. But they're trying to shut it down.
So what about?
Has been voluntary to
Okay,
date.
thank you.
But
What
still
about
wonder
in
if Hondurans are
like
worried
America,
about
for
foreign
instance? Are there any people making like sort of ANCAP courts that people can just like voluntarily ascribe to if they have a conflict and then resolve it in that court? That seems like something
I don't
very
think so.
applicable.
I
But
don't
it
think
seems
so.
feasible, right?
Of
Say you have
course.
like, you know, Free Keene or whatever. Like, what if somebody in Keene,
Well,
where there's a
Judge
bunch of
Judy does
ANCAPs,
that.
was like, okay, yeah. But I just would wonder, like, you know, what ANCAPs are actually doing that, because it seems economically viable if there was enough of a population that would utilize such a thing.
It definitely could be viable. I mean, I just don't know. The thing is, about ANCAP is that there's not many people who know anything about it. So the idea of like, we have to get enough people to believe in it first and then set it up, right?
Well,
but
I mean,
most
what
people.
about Keene? You know what I'm saying?
Well, Keene?
You know about Free Keene, right?
Not really.
New Hampshire?
Oh, New
Oh
Hampshire?
yeah, they had like a bunch of
People moving to
they had a
Hampshire,
bunch of
yeah.
libertarians move over there. Yeah, exactly. I wondered if like they
I
had
mean, I don't
something
know
like
much. I hope it works. But I don't know how many of them are actually ANCAPs. I think that most of them are just libertarian.
Yeah, but even a libertarian could utilize this as well because they understand, oh yeah, the U.S. courts suck. I got a beef with my homie over here who's also a libertarian. Maybe we could just go to like the ANCAP court and solve it, diplomatically. I guess what the problem is, like, even if the court gives a ruling, the state might be able to just be like, okay, well, your court doesn't matter. Like, they're taking it to the real court now, and they're continuing this case, and so now, like, we're gonna step in, right? So it might, I guess, be economically null at that point if it doesn't even matter what the ruling is, because the state can just rule anyways.
I mean, it could
I'm not
work.
sure if you could like.
I've never
You'd
heard
have to
of
sign
it.
a contract beforehand. Yeah, you'd have to like sign a contract beforehand to like agree to the final ruling, and the state would have to accept that as well, where they can no longer pursue it in the actual court.
Can you coerce someone into signing a contract?
Of course you can. We're against
Does that
all
make
forms
the
of
contract
coercion.
still valid, or
It would be invalid, yes.
how would you determine?
Well, coercion to us would be some sort of initiation of force. Or the threat thereof.
Well, you guys are both ANCAPs, right?
No, I'm the ANCAP.
Oh, what is ACE? Is ACE an ANCAP?
I
Oh
don't
no,
think so.
I mean I have like sympathies towards it. I'm very familiar with it.
Ace, I'm gonna show you something real quick. KingSithis, did I speak to you before, actually?
I don't think so.
Okay. Is it rape if you blackmail a woman into having sex with you?
No.
Ace, what do you think?
I'm not engaging with this.
Wait, what? Why would you not engage? Okay. Just a refusal to engage, I guess. All good.
I engaged.
No, I mean you did. I already knew what your answer was going to be, though.
Is that
everyone
it?
else, if you ask your mom,
I'm
she'll
gonna
say,
be
yeah,
right.
that's obviously
I'm gonna
rape.
be right back. Okay, just give me 1 sec.
Yeah, just ask your mom that same question. She'll be like, yeah, that's rape. But hey, Grelm, are you ANCAP?
No.
Isaiah, are you an ANCAP?
Hell no.
Let me ask you guys a question. Is it rape if you blackmail a woman into having sex with you?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Crown?
Yeah.
What's interesting is all ANCAPs answer this the same way, and the answer is no. That's what they say. KingSithis just said it. You missed it, but Ace then said he has ANCAP sympathies and he wasn't going to engage in the question when I asked him, which I assume he also thinks it's not rape. But it's kind of
from my understanding, rape is force, like unconsensual sex, which would mean that
right.
Yeah.
So they believe that whatever you do is consensual because praxeology. Now it's really interesting because they would not define it as what you want to do, but instead what you actually do that doesn't violate the non-aggression principle. And the non-aggression principle is like a very specific thing that they posit, and it has nothing to do with all of the other kinds of ways that you can be like coerced into doing something, right? In their mind, if you were to sign like a contract that forced you to, where you said you're going to be a sex slave for the rest of your life or something, right? This is like some.
Well, we don't believe in
agreement,
voluntary slavery. We don't think it's possible
right,
for
because
there
it
to
wouldn't.
be.
Yeah, they think it
Can I
wouldn't be
ask,
slavery.
Well, if you choose to, if I choose to have sex with a person
Invalid
for money,
contract.
I mean that's not slavery.
Well, hold on. Choosing to have sex with a person for money is different than what he said, right? So.
Well, I disagreed with the slavery part, but yeah.
Wouldn't
I don't
you
think you
agree
can-
that wouldn't you
I don't
He's saying
think
it
you
would
can
happen,
agree.
but it wouldn't be
You can't
slavery. That's what
transfer
he's
the
saying.
title to your
But-
body.
wouldn't
You
agree
can't
that
transfer the title to your body to another person. That's impossible. So the idea of like voluntary slavery or slavery being legitimate and under
You
the
can't transfer the
ANCAP
title to your body.
of your body
How
to
does
another
that
person.
follow?
Well, because you are your body. Your body is not something that you can give to another person.
Okay, well then you would agree that
Wait, why can't you in
um,
your society? I don't understand why that you can't give your
yeah,
body.
you would say that like
okay,
you
give
can't
me your
you can't
ba-
sign
like,
a labor contract.
Leave your
then.
body right now and give it to me. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, I'd be
No,
the way you
hold
phrase
on,
that was much
believe
different
in-
than the way you,
Wait, you don't believe in occupancy and use norms regarding ownership, right?
You
believe
can't.
that
Can you
someone
leave
could-
your body?
you-
Can you leave your body and give it to another person?
You do not believe in that
That's not what
though.
happens.
You
Like, that's
believe
not- that isn't
you
what
actually
no, I'm
believe
just
that
asking
you
you.
could own the
Wait,
home?
I'm just asking you a simple question.
No, but
Can you
your
leave your
belief is that
body?
you could own the
Wait,
home.
why are you
on
avoiding the question?
Okay.
Can you leave your body and give it to another person?
It's a dumb question because that's not what
I know I'm not
slavery is.
Obviously
engaging in it.
not.
I'm pointing out why
Obviously
you
not.
don't believe that.
Obviously
That's
not.
not your standard for
Say no,
ownership.
because it's a
I-
role, just
I-
say
I,
no, it's
if
not
you
relevant.
you fully you
It doesn't
occupy
prove
your
anything
body,
because
right?
That's not what slavery is.
You are the one that's occupying your body, correct?
Yeah.
So the
Okay,
argument
so
is
that
that
means that you
slavery
are
has
the
never
owner.
existed.
I never said slavery never
that is-
existed.
that
I'm
is-
just saying
that
it's
is one of the arguments.
I just said it's illegitimate.
Yeah,
It would be
Okay,
illegitimate
you
for
do
a
understand-
person.
Actually
I would say
exist.
it would be illegitimate for a person to claim ownership over your body because you are the owner of your body. They're making an unjust claim.
According to
Can
what?
you not?
According to the
I'm genuinely
non-aggression
asking because I
principle.
don't know. Okay, I have a genuine question because I don't know the answers to the question. Okay, I'm not
Okay.
asking this.
Sure, sure.
But why can't, for instance, if I own a business, let's say I do own a business, right? I surely can, maybe like for instance, my body. If I own my body, I don't know if maybe it's disanalogous, but my body, sure, like if I can change, I can sell certain parts, right? I don't.
Well,
Or I
you
sell the
can.
body itself.
I'll give you this. You could cut your finger off and then give that to another person. But your body
Or
as
I
a
can-
whole.
or I can.
But you yourself is eternally connected to your body. For instance, like, like if you cut your finger off and give it to another person, that's no longer a part of your body. Yeah,
Sorry,
you
that
can
was-
sell your
that was
finger.
a dumb hypothetical.
You
I,
can
didn't
s-
mean, I worded that terribly. My bad. So,
Oh, okay. Sorry. What point are you trying to make then?
so I'm playing mad about. I'm pausing my game because I did not say what I meant to say.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
no problem.
Surely, if I own something, and maybe the type of ownership you have of your body is significantly different than the type of ownership you have over everything else, which fine. I mean, that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, is surely if I own something, I'm able to either lend that ownership in some form of a contract, right?
Well, you could let someone use your body, but you're not giving them your body. You're just letting them use it. So, for instance, if I
Okay, sure, but that's what we're talking about. We're not talking,
but I wouldn't consider that to be them owning you. For instance, like if I
Okay, this
pay,
is fine.
if I come up to you and I
we can
say,
even talk about lender.
"Wait,
shit.
hold
I
on,
mean,
can I give my example real quick?" You don't because
Yeah, of course.
I don't want to be rude to you guys. I want us to be cool, like at least to be the cool conversation. At least I want it to be a
I'm
cool
down to-
I know,
conversation.
but I
That's
feel
what
like
I'm
you
trying
were
to say.
missing the point of what I said, though. That's all. You're,
I'm
you're
talk-
then
well,
saying
I'm
how
not-
it's
I'm
not
not-
real. Well,
Go
because
ahead.
all I posited was the example that was used was slavery. I understand you believe in your philosophy that that's a form of illegitimate ownership, but fundamentally, you're not against, for example, the transatlantic slave trade as long as the people said yes, correct?
Well, I mean, it depends on
Yeah,
what
then
you
it
mean
wouldn't
by
be
slave.
slavery now. It
But
wouldn't
they
be a
weren't. They
slave trade.
didn't say yes. That's the issue.
No,
No,
but I'm saying no, but you're not getting it. I'm saying
wouldn't-
you
it wouldn't be a
would not be against it.
If okay,
Okay,
so
this is
how
fine.
about this, Karl
If
Marx?
they signed, hold on, if they signed a
Mhm.
contract, right, then you would be you would be fine with it. That would not, you wouldn't consider it slavery.
I have
right?
no
Yeah, why not just
problem.
make it
I don't.
hypothetical?
Okay, so let's say all the black people that went onto the boat said, "Hey, I'm okay, and I want to go to America and work in America."
They signed a contract.
And they all
How
said
about
to sign
that?
a
They
contract
signed a-
saying that I want to do it, and they all went on the boat. Then I would not call that a slave trade. I would call that a workers going from one place to another and working at the place that they want to go to.
Yeah, but
Right.
what if
You
it
wanna
was-
know-
Yeah, but
So
what if it
the
was
only thing-
permanently
So yeah,
binding
I would not
and there
sit.
was no
So
conditions
under
to
any
it?
situation, I would never say I support the slave trade because if you're talking about a person that's saying I want to work somewhere, then I wouldn't consider that to be slavery. Now, if you're talking about a
Right.
situation where somebody says, let's say you're working at a job and you say I don't want to work here anymore, and they literally say you're not allowed to leave and they force you to work, then they're violating your rights, and that would be slavery.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But what if you sign a contract that says they're allowed to do that? That's the hypothetical.
The
Right.
thing is, you
So-
can opt out when it comes to your body. Any contract that comes to your body, you're allowed to opt out of under the libertarian ethic. And the reason why is
can't-
because
so
you
you can't-
cannot
you can sign
relinquish.
that kind of contract
Wait,
then?
You-
unconditional.
Yeah, and the reason why is because you
Invalid
cannot.
contract.
Yeah, it would be
You
for
can't
you.
transfer the title to your body.
Hold on. The
That would
reason.
mean all contracts would be utterly meaningless then, because people could just always
Not
leave them
necessarily,
whenever they
because
want.
when it comes to your job, they could put a penalty thing saying that if, let's say you say I want to
Yeah,
pay
it wouldn't
you,
help because
fif-
I'm leaving the contract.
can you not
right?
can we reduce the
Sorry,
interruptions, please? And just let me make my hypothetical, and then you could.
Yeah,
Yeah. I was just saying, so let's say you come up to me and they say, hey, I want to mow your lawn for $20 on Saturday, and then that day you don't show up, right? I'm not, you haven't violated my rights in any way. You know what I'm saying? Unless you took the money in advance. Let's say I gave you the money and then you said you were going to show up and on Sunday and clean my
Yeah,
thing,
but
and then
not-
you didn't show up, then you would have to give me my $20 back. But at
Yeah, I
no
understand
point,
that, but not-
but at no point would I have the right to force you to mow my lawn. That would be immoral. That would be a rights
Okay,
violation.
I have a different hypothetical to test. I'm just trying to test the
Sure.
equation,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
So imagine I go up to you, right, and I'm like, hey, I'm in college right now, and I'm trying to pay for college. Can I get $20 to mow your yard every week? Contract, okay? And we make a contract, and stipulated in the contract, it says something like, if you don't mow the yard every week you don't, you owe me. You owe me money, all right? And it's like $1 billion, and I signed this contract as like an 18 or 19-year-old, right? Do you think that's a fine contract? Like, do you think that should be illegal?
I mean, it wouldn't be illegal, but I'm just, and technically, you could sign a contract like that, but the only issue with that was it would be impossible for you to collect $1 billion from the person, because
Sure,
the only way,
the whole
I
point is
mean,
you'll be
it wouldn't be illegal.
infinitely
You know,
indebted
I'll
to
bite
them.
the bullet on that. I wouldn't be illegal, but I'm just saying under that situation, it would be almost impossible for you to collect that, because if the guy,
Sure.
you could say, you owe me $1 billion, right? I could put in a contract that says you owe me $1 billion, but if you don't have $1 billion,
Okay,
well, then
can
you're
I
kind of
explain
shit out
why
of
I
luck.
said that, though?
Sure.
So the reason why I'm saying this is, for instance, there can be situations, for example, where I'm working at a company, and then if there were these sorts of penalties for voiding the contract, they could coerce me into staying into contract despite it being not, obviously, very much against my interest.
Well, it
right?
depends on how it depends on what you mean by coercion. Are they saying I'm going to do X or this to you?
Well, the
or...
coercion is the fact that I have this like undue penalty, right?
Well, then don't sign a
And so-
contract with that
Well,
causing
sometimes-
it.
well, my
Wait,
point is
why?
sometimes you just
Whose fault is it? Okay. Like, some people have to take responsibility for their own actions at some point, right?
People are retarded.
And I understand that, but at some point you have to take. Wait. Let me finish. Sorry. I didn't know that was you, Cam. I'm sorry. I didn't. I was just wanted to
No,
make
I'm
this
saying,
point.
like, if you're a retard and you signed that, it's kind of your fault now.
Yeah, like at some point you have to
Okay,
take
like-
responsibility for your own
is so
action.
sad.
If you
So-
take a
so-
fucking,
This is so sad.
if you sign a
So I
contract
have
that
a
says you
question.
owe me $1 billion if you don't show up to work the next day, and you decide to sign that contract, I'm sorry, but that's on you, dude.
Okay, you can.
Well, I have a question. How would in your ANCAP world, how do you deal with negative externalities?
It depends on what you mean.
Being when like a business, for example, were to pollute the ocean. Okay, how do you deal with it?
Well, it depends on who it affects. Okay, so for instance, if
the
you have
ocean, that is everyone who might exist in the ocean. You know, you put nuclear waste in the ocean, might kill the
Wait,
fish
well, that's why
population
you assign-
globally.
the best way to reduce the amount of externalities that you have is by privatizing or assigning ownership to sections of the ocean, so that the people.
Oh, I think I do
so
remember
that-
you saying this. Okay.
Yeah, so that people
Yeah,
who
right,
I
own.
did speak to you.
Wait, can I make my argument without interruption, please? And then whoever wants to go next, I'll give them a turn. Okay. So when you assign property rights to sections of the ocean, and another person decides to dump shit into the ocean, and it inevitably damages the property within that property that you own, well, then you could sue that person for damages, and they would have to give you restitution for the pollution that they did to you. Whereas, and that's kind of how it would work under ANCAP, you know, for any sort of pollution. And
So
whenever
no one
you
could
put
anything in the ocean.
well, not without paying the person whom it affects.
Wait,
Who
but
exactly is
you-
enforcing these contracts? That's what I want to know.
Well, that's one
private
thing, but I just want
enforcement
to
agencies.
yeah, they
That's
have
all-
these private security, private courts idea in their head, whatever. But my actual question is, obviously, the ocean. You wouldn't have brick walls dividing different pieces of the ocean, right? So
Well, you don't
because
need
it's
brick
water,
walls to have borders.
Okay, but any pollution in water would move around. You agree that like if you were to drop a piece
Yeah,
of
but
paper
you could
in
prove
the water,
you could prove that somebody's put pollution in your section of the water, right?
that's not no. That's not what was said. Listen to what I'm saying very carefully, okay? Check
Mhm.
this out. They put straws in the ocean. Where does the straw go?
In the ocean.
Here, there, a little everywhere.
Okay, so I dropped it in the area that I own. Now where's the straw going off to?
If it's on your
Going
loan,
to the
if it
one-
goes onto your property and you don't want it there, what you could do is you could find whoever put it there, and then you can sue them for damages.
No, you can't.
Okay,
For
how are
littering.
you not listening to what I said? Wait, hold on. I don't know.
I don't know
I'm
how that's not an
tripping.
answer to your question.
You would have to actually put up like a net or something that would like guard against that sort of thing.
If that's what you want to do, that's
like
up to
how
you.
could
That's
you
on you.
how could you stop stuff that gets put in the ocean from going literally
By suing
everywhere? How could you
companies,
stop that?
by suing companies who throw things into it.
No.
What? That makes no sense. Okay,
So
so,
when you-
sorry. Are
so-
you just saying you cannot put anything in the ocean? Nobody can put anything in the ocean.
without paying the people whom it affects. No.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
Because
so if
it
I
would be
take
a
a
res-
piss in
because
the
they would have to
ocean- hold
collect
on.
the
Let's say
restitution.
I take a piss. Hold on. Let's say I take a piss in the part of the ocean that I own. Okay, and then they find that my urine and DNA, you know, because it's water, it's in the ocean, somehow makes it onto someone else's privately owned section
Well,
of
maybe
the
you
ocean.
should piss in your own toilet as opposed to pissing on other people's property.
Well,
Okay, so
it's
when you flush
property.
the toilet, where does it go?
In the ocean.
Into the private, ideally into some sort of private plumbing system. I'm not really sure
And then
how it all
where
works.
Okay, sorry.
I don't
always
see
put
what's
it
so
in
funny
water
about that
source,
answer.
bro.
It seems like a pretty solid answer.
It goes to a water
Okay.
source.
I'm sure.
It does.
Yeah, it
That's
would probably
kinda-
be
that's kinda the
owned,
point.
which would
So,
probably be
what I'm
owned by
saying
some
is
private
you're-
company.
Okay, so every section of the ocean owned by a private company, therefore
Or a
you
person.
cannot put anything in the ocean because those things would move. Actually, this is interesting.
Nobody said that.
So
Nobody
Not true.
said that, dude. We said that you
Why do you keep saying
can't
that?
put things
No,
into
that's not
if
necessarily-
You literally
on
said
other
that.
people's. You can't put things on other people's property that they don't want you to put there. So if you do, you would
you're
have
not
to pay
putting
that
anything
person.
on anyone's property.
You would have to pay that
That's not what's
person
happening.
restitution. So if I
Wait, you-
own a section of the ocean and you decide to throw shit into that
think
section of the
this guy-
ocean, and I can prove that you were the one that did it, you would owe me restitution for the crime of littering on my property. Very
I
easy.
think you need to loosen those helmet straps, bro.
So would it also apply to oxygen if I blow in a certain direction or let CO2 out into the air, right?
Whoa.
These kinds of negative
Whoa.
externalities.
It would have
that
to be some
then-
sort of measurable damage being done to another person or their property.
Do not put your carbon in my air, bro.
But carbon,
So-
the thing,
I'm
the
so
beautiful thing
confused.
about
What do we-
the thing about oxygen, the beautiful thing about oxygen is that we have such an abundance of oxygen that my
Well,
use
there's an
of
abundance
oxygen.
of ocean
That
water.
can you let
I
me
would
finish?
venture
Can
to say
you
there's
guys said
probably
that you guys were
more
going to be
ocean
cool and let
water
me
than
finish my
oxygen.
arguments
There's
before
literally
letting
more
me.
water than oxygen. It's fucking hilarious.
All right. Next interruption that I get will be server muted. So if somebody, the beautiful thing about oxygen, right, is that we have such an abundance of oxygen that my use of oxygen doesn't take away from your use of oxygen. So therefore, me breathing near you doesn't violate your rights in any way because there's no measurable damage being done to you, your person, or your property by breathing next to you. Very easy.
What if I own the air though in this section? If I own the air
You
in
can't
this
own
section,
air.
then you. Well, why can't
If
you
you-
own water then?
Did own the air.
Well, because
If you somehow
that's a
own the
scarce
air,
physical
yeah.
resource. Whereas
Wait, how-
oxygen
what?
isn't. there's such an abundance of oxygen that my use of oxygen does not take away from your use of oxygen. And also, oxygen isn't something in which you can like take away from somebody. Like I can't suck the oxygen out of your house just by breathing next to you. Whereas water, you can extract water from the ocean. You can claim a section of the ocean, right? It's completely different.
My question would be, who would make the measurements that who is the guilty one to putting like a garbage or exploiting the ocean, part of the ocean? Like, who would be the guarding it? Like, what kind of a system you would have, like, requiring that the people would?
Well, the rights enforcement agencies would deal with that.
Clean.
Okay.
What?
How do
KingSithis, can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that as a yes.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a court of law?
No. Why does this guy keep jumping in and out?
Who is
I don't
doing
know. It's
that?
really annoying.
You can lock them if I don't know who it is,
Yeah,
but
it's
who is it?
Blind Rage something or other. Yeah,
I don't know who they are.
Because
You know how to lock?
wouldn't you need some?
Yeah,
because
the reason I
don't know
asked
how.
about the
I just
the
know
reason
how
I
to
asked
mute.
about the if you've been in a court before is because people have been in court know that judges
Oh my god,
never-
this is so annoying.
courts of law, yeah. No. Oh man, this is really.
This is so
All
annoying.
right, hold on. Let me hold on. Just / lock in the chat and then the name.
Thank you. What was his name?
Blind Rage or something.
Thanks.
He's there in
Blind.
the thing. It's got, yeah, there you go.
Wait, lock room? What does that mean?
So my
That means
question
kick him
was-
out of the
It's
room. Okay. So other people.
Okay,
That means
right,
other
so-
people can join, right? Because I don't want to lock it to everyone.
No, it's just you lock / lock and then type that person's name, and then it just locks that person out.
Okay, no problem.
The reason I asked if you've been in a court of law is because
I've
people
been
who
to a
have
court.
in courts of law know that judges, when they make judicial decisions, they're never just like rigorously applying the norms that are set out in statute or precedent. And so what I'm interested in is, how do you, and this is kind of similar to what Dark Karl Marx was asking, it's in a similar vein, which is the problem with negative externalities. The way I would put it is that the application of any kind of agreement is never just the application of the norms that are set out in the agreement. There's always like principles of fairness and stuff like that judges have to, they just have to when they're applying law. But obviously if you're an ANCAP and you believe that the only norms that are enforced are the ones that are set out like explicitly in a contract, then how would judges actually be able to even do their job if they can't apply things like principles of fairness?
Well, we believe in the non-aggression principle, so that's what our principle would be.
No, but there are other like principles of fairness.
A public.
I don't know what
Like
you
say
mean
for
by
instance that like say for instance like someone's like, would you say that if someone's like trespassing on your house, you have a right to remove them?
100%.
Or your property?
Yeah.
Okay. What if I'm being chased by a murderer and I jump over your fence in order to try to escape them? Do you think I've actually violated your rights?
If I don't want you to.
Right. So what you're saying is that if this came to before a court, in your system, I would actually be punished for fleeing a murderer because I happen to trespass on your property.
Well, you wouldn't be in trouble for fleeing the murderer. You would be in trouble for trespassing.
Yeah, but in order to flee the murderer, I had to trespass.
Well, then maybe you shouldn't have trespassed.
Right. So in your
It's
system,
wait. It's not. Wait. How is it? Wait. If it's my property, why is it my fault that a robber decided to try to that a stabber tried to stab you? Why does that make it okay for you to go on my property? It's like, fuck you. What, you're bringing the stabber onto my property now? You're bringing the stabber onto my property. What if I don't want the stabber on my property?
Yeah, it makes you a psychopath.
It doesn't make me how does it make me a psychopath?
But
I don't want
actually-
either you or the stabber on my property, so fuck off. Take that shit somewhere else.
Okay, I'm not gonna call you like a psychopath, but what I will say is, like, I think the reason why people like chuckle at that is or surprised, very much surprised at that, was because we have certain like expectations of like you have like one principle you're working from. Most people, like especially in court of law, are working from like a variety of different principles, right? It was like kind of like we just said previously. Like most
Well,
people
I
would think
purposely kind of am trying to make you guys chuckle a little bit, but the principle is true. What I am saying, I do agree with.
Okay, well, can I ask you another? So, just kind of going back because we moved off of it pretty quick, but you made the point that because there's so much a huge abundance of oxygen, you can't own any. But there's far more water than oxygen on Earth.
Okay,
and it's not even.
Here's
close,
the difference, right? Here's the difference. You're right. I didn't really explain it that well, so I'll give you the difference, right? When I breathe next to you, right? Does my use of the oxygen take away from your use of the oxygen? Like we could both breathe in the same room, right? And we won't die.
In the same way, if I were to get a cup of ocean water, does that take away from anybody else getting a cup of ocean water? No.
No, but if I wanted your cup of ocean water, you could stop me from taking your cup of ocean water, right?
That doesn't. Why? What?
Well, no, but theoretically, you could do that.
I could stop you from taking a breath right now if I wanted to.
No,
right?
no. Well, I mean, you could choke me, but then you'd be violating my rights.
But if I have a cup of ocean water in my hand,
a cup of
and you
water
snatch
is
it away
different
from me,
than
is that violating my?
No. A cup of water is different from oxygen because a cup of water is you can actually physically take away a cup of water. Like me and you cannot
physically take someone's
okay, so if
oxygen.
me and you are in the middle of a desert and there's only one bottle of water, only one of us could drink that water bottle, right?
Sure.
Okay, so
and if you're in
anywhere,
like
no matter where we are in the world, my use of oxygen will never take away from your use of oxygen.
False.
Where?
False.
Where?
Yeah. Have you never been in a space where there is limited oxygen?
Oh my
and
god.
You can
okay.
use up all of the oxygen.
Okay.
This is a
but
thing
listen
that
to
occurs.
me. Listen to me. I'm talking about in normal day-to-day situations.
Dude, you just said in a desert and where there's one water bottle. What do you mean normal day-to-day?
Another thing, I can't physically grab oxygen. I can't homestead oxygen. Can you grab oxygen?
Okay, but you can. But then you can just grab water with your hand and pick it right up and run away with
Exactly. So
it,
there's
right?
a difference between water and oxygen. I can go into the ocean and grab water with my hands and drink it, right? But I can't grab oxygen, right? And take it away from you. So for instance, if me and you are in the same, listen to me. Wait.
You cannot do that, dude.
No,
you cannot pick up water with your bare hand and run away with it.
If we are in the desert, and you have one water bottle, and I drink that water bottle, you are not able to drink that water bottle. But can I take away your oxygen? Can I go up, grab the oxygen, and take it away? How?
Okay, if you are so this is a perfect example because you're using the desert example, okay? If you are in space and there is one oxygen tank, okay? And only one person can use said oxygen tank.
In that case, you're right.
Same thing as a water bottle.
Yeah, but in most situations, but it's not the same in the world.
In most situations, nobody's in the desert with one water bottle.
I agree. Listen, I'm biting the bullet. In that case, yes, it's a scarce resource. And yes, there would have to be property right. There would have to be a property right assigned to the oxygen mask. But on Earth, here on Earth, right, we have such an abundance of oxygen, right, that when I breathe next to you, it doesn't take anything away from you.
Stop saying that.
It's not the same. You got to admit that it's not the same.
You are literally using oxygen molecules that another person can't use. Just like if you were to drink water,
but you can still breathe. You can still breathe.
Cannot drink. But dude, you understand? There's enough water on Earth for everybody. There's not some limited amount of water that we're gonna run out.
But not in every part of the world.
Dude, there is enough water for everybody.
I understand there's a lot. Listen, I understand there's a lot of water on the Earth, right? But the difference between oxygen and water, right, is that when you're in a place without water, right, and there's only one water bottle, and I drink that water, just like the tank of air, right, and I take away that thing from you, it has to be an assignment of property rights because there's only one of that thing, and only one of us can use that thing. But when it comes to oxygen,
That makes no
we
sense.
both can breathe oxygen next to each other, and there's nothing I'm taking away from you.
That's not true. Listen,
Yes!
if you were in a
If
you were in
I'm
a
breathing
room,
next
no.
to you, how are you dying?
How do people die of carbon monoxide poisoning?
If I'm breathing next to you, you're not dying.
Oh my god. If there's not enough oxygen in the room, okay, and you stick a bunch of people in the room
Okay, so then
together,
how do you divide up? Okay, in order for you to have property rights, right? You have to be able to divide the scarce resource among the other people. Without any oxygen tank,
so
how
here's
do
what
you
we
do
need
that?
to do. We need to privatize oxygen.
But
Everyone
how do you wait?
needs
Okay,
to
again,
purchase
wait,
an individual
Derek,
oxygen
Derek, you're
tank.
almost there. If you're in a
Sure.
room, let's exclude the idea of an oxygen tank, right? Because an oxygen tank is different. I
Mhm.
do agree that that is property, right? But other than say an oxygen tank, if me and you, a bunch of people are in a room and we're running out of oxygen, how do you privatize oxygen? How do you separate the oxygen amongst other people? How do you separate
because-
oxygen?
Right, that's the thing. You can purchase different sections of oxygen based on
but that's
homesteading
impossible.
laws, right?
That's
so you can
impossible because you
homestead.
can't
no,
divide it up.
No, you can homestead the
divide up
land
the
that
ocean,
the
right?
oxygen resides on, and then you
Wait,
own
wait, no,
that amount of oxygen.
You could divide up the ocean, right?
Yeah, you can divide up
So I could stop
land and own the oxygen.
Yeah, and you could divide up land, right? But you can't divide up oxygen. How do you
You
physically
can't divide
divide
up water
oxygen?
in your example either. How do you?
Yes,
how do
you can. I
physically
could take
divide up
water.
the ocean water?
I could take oxygen water and put it into a cup. There
Okay,
you go.
so what are you
So
gonna
we
do?
could divide
when you,
up the
hold on, when you
water.
purchase the ocean,
So we could divide
hold on,
up
when
the
you
water
purchase-
in the ocean,
when
right?
you purchase a section of the ocean, what are you going to do? Are you going to put walls so that the water
Yeah,
doesn't
you
move
could
from
do
your
that.
section?
Theoretically, you could do that, right?
Border it, yeah.
Theoretically, you could do that,
Okay,
right?
So you just build walls.
No.
in the middle of
Theoretically,
the
Hold
ocean.
on.
but wait, answer the question, Carl. You theoretically you could divide up the ocean, correct? Yeah, or incorrect?
You could what?
Theoretically, you could divide up the ocean and place property rights among
You
the
can't
ocean
actually
and the
do
water.
that. No,
Yes,
that's impossible.
so you can't put up a wall around a section of the ocean and
It's
keep the water
impossible.
in that section in
You
it.
literally cannot do that. No, that's physically impossible.
That's not
How is it
true.
impossible?
That's not true. You could. So you mean you
Explain
can't build?
how-
That's not true.
What do you mean that's not true?
You
It's
can't
literally
build
physically
structures in the
impossible.
ocean. You're meaning to tell me people build structures in the ocean?
How would you? Okay, tell me. Explain to me. How would you be able to
Put a wall.
stop every single water molecule?
Build a wall.
Okay, so this is the same thing. You can
Okay,
build.
but
Hold
you
on,
can't
can build a
do that with
vacuum.
oxygen.
You can build. Yes, you can. You build an airtight space, and then you own all the oxygen in this airtight
No, but
space.
we're in the
Yeah,
air.
build like a
But we're
dome around
talking about.
something.
Listen to me. But you're changing to hypothetical. I told you in a
You're,
situation
you're
where
talking
you.
about a hypothetical.
No.
There
Listen
is
to me.
no
You're changing.
wall
No.
built in the
Wait.
ocean that
Don't
stops
interrupt me. Don't
water
interrupt me,
molecules
please.
from-
Do not
Oh my
interrupt me,
gosh.
please. I gave you a hypothetical where a bunch of people are in a room. They don't have any technology to divide up the oxygen. They're just breathing near each other. How is it that you're able to divide up the oxygen so that everyone can separate the oxygen amongst each other? How are you going to be able to do that?
Without technology,
Yeah.
obviously it's impossible. You would need a cup.
Exactly.
to even
Okay,
divide
so
up water.
in that situation,
Wait, are you?
wait.
Dude,
Listen,
what is
wait,
wrong with you? Hold on,
wait,
stop.
Stop. Don't interrupt.
So
Wait, obviously
you
in that
interrupted
situation,
me as I was answering
obviously
the question
in
you
that
asked.
situation,
You literally
obviously
just
in that
interrupted me as
situation,
I was answering the
obviously
question
in
you
that
asked.
situation, water
Okay, dude.
is not the same as oxygen in that situation because you
You cannot
theoretically
divide up water without technology either, dude. What are you talking about?
yeah,
You
but
need technology in both cases.
I
I don't really
understand
get why
that,
you
but
guys have
if
been
you
on
are in a
so long.
room, right, and you don't have the technology to divide up the oxygen, the idea of claiming oxygen in a room is
Dude,
preposterous.
oh my god. If you are in a room and you don't have the technology to divide up water, the idea of like it's the same thing. You do
But
understand.
you
need
can divide up
technology.
water in a room. You could use your
How?
hands. You could use your hands.
You literally cannot.
You could just scoop
How
up the
could
water
you?
with your
What are you
hands and then
talking
drink
about?
it.
This is
You
Oh my
could
gosh,
separate
this is so
water.
stupid.
You could separate
I
water
feel like
from
the
each other very
oxygen by
easily.
building a
This is
dome,
so
yeah.
stupid.
You've never used your hand to drink water?
So
Come on,
you're
bro.
saying you
Technically-
use your hands to drink water? That's the same thing as
Technically,
using
yeah,
your
but
nose to breathe.
theoretically you
Mark,
could.
let me explain this
We
to you.
theoretically-
That's the same thing to.
Technically-
That's the same thing as using your nose to breathe. You
All
realize?
right, if you know what, if
drinking
anybody
water-
else wants to go,
Here,
you
let me
can go.
explain this.
I'm a mute.
KingSithis is a large proponent and fan of drinking soup with forks.
No, I get it. I get it. It's but he'll grow out of it. But
That
it's just unfortunate.
That is defamation. That is defamatory. I would never.
Excuse me, that's
That is completely defamatory statement, sir. Cam, you know what? You take the reins.
I don't know
Who's taking
why you and Karl Marx have been at this for so long. Like with the whole oxygen water thing. Like just build a dome around land, then you own the oxygen in it. Easy. That's how you do it. That's how you can own.
Yeah, that's what I explained. He said,
Yeah,
"Oh,
I said that you could do that. I did admit that you could do that. I just said in normal circumstances. The only thing that I said is in normal circumstances, right? In normal day-to-day circumstances, when you're breathing next to another person, you can't just claim the air next to somebody because there's no way to separate.
dude, you can't. Oh my gosh, this is so stupid. This is so stupid.
You need to homestead the air.
How is it stupid to say you can't own
said,
air?
homesteading
Wait,
the air. That's
Karl
literally what I
Marx,
said.
you're saying
This
that
is
I'm
stupid.
stupid.
It's possible.
You're saying I'm
People
stupid
do it.
because I said you can't own the air.
No, dude, I'm saying you're stupid because you believe that you can own water but not own air. It's the same thing.
I did say that you can't own air. I did say you can't own air.
Air was far
I just
more
said that you
abundant,
can't own
but actually
the
water
air.
is more abundant.
Wait, I think Sithis' point was more like you can't, like he just said, you can't really just claim the air next to someone. Like if you're in your everyday situation, like you need to actually homestead the air in some way, which you can do in a
Dude,
variety
that's
of
not a thing, guys. I proposed
That's
that.
the point.
I
That's the
proposed
point.
homesteading the air.
That's the
I
point.
proposed homesteading the air because it's just as ridiculous as homesteading water. You
Hold
can't
on.
do that. That's
Are
not
you
a
telling
thing,
me you're
guys.
not homesteading air if you build a dome around some land?
Oh my
and then there's
gosh,
oxygen
dude.
inside of it. That's literally
Yeah, if I own a can of air, is that not my air now? Because you think the idea of owning air is
This
ridiculous?
is so bad. This is so bad.
Wait,
Air-
no.
air
Have you
is
ever owned an air duster?
ridiculous.
Have you ever owned an air duster?
This is so bad.
Have you ever snorted?
Oh, I guess
from an air
you
duster?
didn't own it. I guess he didn't own it. Karl Marx, you didn't own that air duster because the idea of owning air is ridiculous.
So bad faith, bro.
That's so stupid.
You're so bad.
It's so
faith.
bad.
You don't listen to anything we say. Like,
I
you're
just got here and I was thinking, I'm gonna run into a respectable Ancap. Maybe I can have a humanizing conversation.
What are you talking about?
I get here, it's just retardation.
Okay,
Fuck.
what did I say that was retarded? What did we say that was retarded? Go ahead.
Makes sense. That's the
What did
question.
we say that's retarded?
I asked him.
I hope they run into it finally.
What did we say that's retarded?
Earlier, I asked him, "Hey, is it rape if you blackmail a woman into having sex with you?" He says no. This is the ANCAP answer.
No.
They all say this. They say it's not rape if you blackmail a woman into having sex with you.
Blackmail someone.
Oh my, yeah, it's not.
That's
yeah.
what they believe.
I remember.
What person did you force to have? Wait,
worst case of
what? At what
coercion
point? What point did you force them?
Which is basically still rape.
It's rape.
It's like
yeah,
not
no,
rape, but it's like basically
obvious.
rape. Yeah.
No, it's
Wait, is
so
sex work
obvious
not real work?
If you ask your mom, she'll
Is sex
tell
work
you,
not
yes,
real
it's
work?
rape.
Is sex work not real work?
It's like-
would be wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess these guys don't believe sex work is real work.
Dude, you're so stupid.
No, you guys don't
Really
believe.
honest.
No, you don't believe
You just
sex
say
work is
things
real
and
work.
It's so dumb.
No,
You're
because if I
Marxist.
go up to a woman and I say, "Hey, can you have sex with me and I'll give you $50,000?" I'm coercing that woman because there's a power imbalance. So sex work is not
How
real
old
work.
are you?
I'm 28 years old.
No,
Are you gonna
not.
big
This is
brother me right
ridiculous.
now? Are you seriously gonna big brother
You're
me
not
right now?
28.
You
You're
gotta
not
be kidding me
28.
right now.
Anyways,
Is that your
I
argument
have a
right now?
question.
Big brothering me? You're gonna big brother me
we're
right
gonna
now?
we're gonna divide that in two. Whenever an ANCAP tells you how old they are, divide it in two.
How old are you?
How old are
I'm
you?
25.
Oh,
Yeah, you're a
cold.
yeah.
fucking retard.
Hey,
Yeah.
Doesn't
I have a
mean
question.
like
Whoa, buddy.
kind of retarded.
Like I'm talking to a bunch of people that don't even own property, talking about property rights. and
What are
it's
you
the
talking
weirdest thing
about?
'cause they're all
What are you
fucking
talking about?
idiots.
I own my computer. That's my property.
The phone I'm holding in my hand right now.
Yeah, I own that.
I have.
I own a phone.
Wait, how much did you pay for your computer?
A lot, actually.
I have
How
a
much?
genuine question.
Probably like
So
two.
if
2,500.
Karl Marx owning a one piece of, let's say you KingSithis has a, let's say you have like a, you are like a.
Wait, is the question towards me or towards him? Sorry.
Both of you.
Okay, go ahead.
So like, or this question is more to you, KingSithis. If Karl Marx is your neighbor and you both are owning piece of land in, let's say, in a beach on the nearby the ocean. So what guarantees that if Dark Karl Marx decides that he's going to take a dump, he's going to take a shit on your piece of land?
That's trespass.
What system? And my question is, what system would guarantee that your that kind of a trespassing is not allowed? Like what?
You can either enforce it yourself, or you could call your private insurance agency to assess the damage and collect restitution.
Just bring it to a court. Just bring it to a private court, and then a rights enforcement
Okay, no,
agency.
like, sorry, I'm not gonna hear. The private court is the biggest crock of shit nonsense. Like, you have to be so ignorant of how law works. Okay, I can justify it.
Okay, justify right now.
It's it's not a thing, right?
Here's the question I would
Actually, we do have private courts in the real world.
Do you believe that a person can be judged in their own case?
What?
Do you believe a person can be a judge in a dispute that they're interested and involved in? Okay. So when I make a contract with, say, you, right? Let's say we make a contract, it doesn't matter what it is, and we say this court is going to be the judge between us. They're going to enforce this contract that we've made. Are we making a contract with that court?
I think it would sort of be a contract with yourself, the other disputant, and the court, probably.
So I'm making a contract with a thing which means that the court is going to be a judge in its own case, no?
What?
Well, I made a contract with it, right?
So that would represent a conflict of interest.
No, what you don't understand. The court is a person whom you hire to settle a dispute between two parties.
Yeah, I understand that.
So they're not arbitrating over themselves, they're arbitrating over your case.
How can they be the judge if I've made a contract with them?
You contract because you wanted them to.
Because you just told me that someone can't be judged in their own case, but then you're saying the court will be the judge in its own case because
it's not its own case. Hold on, it's not its own case. It's judging another person's case.
No, it's in our case because we've made a contract that says this court is going to be the judge.
Yeah, but you're not going to court against the court. You're going to court against another person. The judge is there to arbitrate over your dispute between the other person, not between itself.
You did just agree that all three people would be involved in said contract. That's
but you're settling a dispute between two parties.
Hold on,
there's two parties, and then there's a third party who looks over the dispute, and they make a decision based on the evidence. It's not they're not looking over the evidence and making a decision for themselves. They're not making a decision for themselves. They're making a decision based behalf of the third parties who are settling a dispute between the two people.
We have said they're a court because we've agreed that they're a court. We're making an agreement with the court.
Wait, no, it's not. It's not because you agree they're a court. What?
Are you purposely misunderstanding how courts work?
You're being dense.
I think I understand.
Wait, what do you mean misunderstanding?
So when you go to court,
okay.
when you go to a public court, right? Yeah, is the court making a decision for itself, or is it making a decision for the parties? Wait. Let me finish the question before you answer it. Let me finish the question before you answer it. All right. Yeah. So when you go to a public court, is the court making a decision for itself, or is it making a decision between two?
It's making a decision for the state. That's what it's doing.
No, it's not making a decision for the state. It's making a decision between the two parties, unless the state is involved in the dispute.
No, they're literally making a decision for the state. What do you mean?
Yeah, but what if it's between two parties, right?
It doesn't matter.
If I'm suing you, listen to me. If I'm suing you, okay, I guess you're too scared to hear my argument because you're just interrupting me over and over and over and over again as I'm making the argument. So if there's two people, if I'm suing you, so if I'm suing you, right, for punching me in the face, is that court? And I go to a public court, is that court making a decision for itself, or is it making a decision for the two parties?
There's a difference between making a decision.
Okay, I didn't hear the. I want an answer to the question.
Because you're deliberately being obscure.
No, okay, so I guess you didn't hear the question, so I'll ask the question again. So the question was, if you go to a public, if I go up to you and I punch you in the face, and we go to a public court, right?
A public court is not a party.
Are they making a dispute? Are they making a decision based on the two parties within the dispute, or are they making a decision on behalf of themselves?
A public court is not a party to a contract. I don't know how you can't
No,
understand.
but they're settling a dispute between the two parties, correct?
Yeah, of course they are. That's
Okay,
what the court does.
exactly. I agree. So when you go to a private court, and you make an agreement with the court saying, "Hey, I want you to look over my case and settle the dispute," are they making a decision for themselves, or are they making a decision for the two parties within the court?
That had nothing to do with what I said, which is to do with the nature of judgment.
I just want to answer that question as opposed to a dodge.
Well, sorry, but it's asinine because it has nothing to do.
Okay,
with
so
what I'm saying.
obviously, when you go to a contract with a third party, they're not making a decision unilaterally based on for themselves. They're making a decision based on the two parties that are coming forth and asking for arbitration. Correct?
And they make a decision between the litigants.
Exactly. So what you said was incorrect. I agree, and now I'm glad that you now admit that what you said was completely incorrect. So when you go to dispute, so when you're a private court and you go to a dispute, right? What you do is you go to a private court and you go to one that you two agree to each other, right? And what you do is you be like, "Hey, I want you to arbitrate over my case." What they'll do is they'll look over the evidence and they'll make a decision, basically the same way as public courts do, but the only difference is that they're private and they're not forcing people to pay for it.
A private court is a party to a contract that it has to enforce, which is a conflict of interest.
It's not a conflict of interest because they're an arbitrator.
You just admitted, well, the other guy at least admitted that you can't be a judge in your own case.
Okay, even you admitted that. Even you admitted 5 seconds ago that the judge is not a judge in its own case. What it's doing is it's disputing a case between two disputants who have Okay, you keep talking as I'm giving you the argument.
King, what system guarantees the whatever the court system is the judgment will be? What guarantees that this court system is just?
It's gonna make its decisions based off of the evidence. Because if they don't and they choose to be biased, right, then the people who are buying their services will choose to go to another court that isn't biased.
Yeah. So what system guarantees that this court system is just? Like, is there a state above it, or?
I mean, are you asking? Is there a final arbiter? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a final arbiter.
So the court systems are totally free themselves to make even
all court systems are totally free to make their own decisions.
Yeah, but the litigants aren't free to just leave the litigation, are they?
In a private court, you should be allowed to. I think so.
So
I don't think you should be forced. I don't think you should be forced to go to a court that you don't subscribe to.
So
that's
then
immoral.
So then what's the point of a contract if it's not enforceable?
If you signed a contract, then it is enforceable. But if you haven't, then it is not.
No, you just said that I can leave the litigation whenever I want.
Well, you don't have to go, but if they find you to be guilty, then that's on you.
So then I can't leave the litigation when I want because the judgment's binding regardless.
Well, you don't have to go there.
Yeah, but you're being absurd.
But if you signed a contract and they find you guilty, then, what happens.
Yes, so the judgment is binding.
The judgment is binding, yes. But you don't have to show up.
Finality. You just deny that there's finality, but then you're admitting that there is because the judgment.
And finality is in a contract. But what I said earlier was that there's no such thing as a final arbiter, in the sense that even a state isn't a final arbiter because
the judgment is binding.
The judgment is binding if you signed a contract.
So then there is a final arbiter
in that dispute. Yes.
Yes. So there.
Well, not necessarily because. If you find that the case was judged in a bad way, you could take it to another court and then they can overrule it.
So then the judgment isn't binding, because I can just
only if you can prove that there was foul play.
To who?
To maybe some other court.
So, and is there an endless stream of courts I can keep appealing to every time the judgment comes to what I don't like?
But I mean, you could, but it wouldn't work because eventually nobody would want to take your case because they would realize that You don't have any evidence.
It wouldn't matter because there's no final court.
Yeah, but there's no final court in any system.
Yes, there is.
Where?
The Supreme Court in the United States. What is wrong with you?
The Supreme can the Supreme Court make decisions on behalf of Canada?
The Supreme Court
Wait,
makes decisions on the basis of law. I don't know what.
No, I didn't hear an answer to that question. So, can the Supreme Court make a decision? No, I'm not trolling. It's a legitimate question. I just want to ask. Just want an answer. No, they can't. Okay, so then I guess they're not a final. Yeah, so I guess there's not. Wait! Stop interrupting. So I guess there's no such thing as a final arbiter, even under your Supreme Court.
There's a final arbiter in a.
It literally is, yes, a final arbiter.
They're not the final arbiter.
Within a jurisdiction, there is a final arbiter. Okay,
they're not the final arbiter.
Within a particular jurisdiction, there is one court that has more power than all of the other courts. Do you know
this? It's not true. It's not true.
Yes, if you are. So can they in the state of California?
Okay, so again, I'll ask you the same question. Can the Supreme Court make a decision on behalf of Canada?
Dude.
Okay, so are you trolling? What did I say? I said.
Okay, so I didn't hear an answer to that question. Okay, got you. No problem.
What does jurisdiction mean?
Do they own the land?
KingSithis, what does jurisdiction
That means
mean?
an area in which they claim to
Does it mean they're a final arbiter for everyone, though?
Yeah, they're not a final arbiter. I'm just saying they're not a final arbiter.
Means zone of judicial decision, and there is a zone of judicial decision in the US, and there's a zone of judicial decision in Canada. And a Canadian court is not going to hear American litigation because it's a different jurisdiction.
So they're not a final arbiter. Yeah, so they're not a final arbiter.
Finality. There is a finality in this jurisdiction.
But there's no, maybe in that jurisdiction, but not in the world. There's no such thing as a final arbiter. They're not a final arbiter.
They literally are.
They're not.
You understand?
Because they can't, they don't settle disputes all over the world. There's no such thing as a final arbiter.
Hold on. This is good. This is good. This is good. Okay. When you talk about all over the world, there is a thing such as international law. Okay. So
who's the final arbiter? Law. So who's the final arbiter in a dispute between Canada and America?
For criminal disputes, it would be the ICC.
So they're the final arbiter in the whole world.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't think that's how that works. I don't think that's how that works.
On every single legal matter, they are the final arbiter. Is that no? Obviously not.
Yeah, I don't think that's how that works.
They're not the final.
What are you talking about? All international criminal court cases are through the ICC.
No, so every single.
Not for every single one, right?
Yeah. What about the space police? What if you commit a crime in space, and who's gonna be the final arbiter in space when you go to the moon?
Yeah, it would still be the ICC. Do you guys know
how are they going to enforce it? How are they going to take you to court? What are they going to do?
They have jurisdiction in space?
They have jurisdiction in space? How do they do that?
Yeah, because so if there was something happening in space, one of those people is from a country. I know this is surprising, but they would be from a country.
Oh, okay, so they're not the final arbiter.
Wait, what if they weren't, though?
Oh, what if they weren't from a country?
People not from any country.
Gotcha, so they're aliens?
I don't fucking know.
Yeah, they left Earth and went to Mars. Let's say a colony of my friends left Earth and went to Mars. Who's the final arbiter of us?
Is that what you're saying?
Is this so stupid?
I know it's so stupid. I know it's hard. It's really hard to critically think. It's really stupid. It makes.
I ask this question.
Like been in a court or has read a single piece of philosophical legal literature to think that finality within a jurisdiction doesn't exist because there are other jurisdictions.
You're using the word. You keep using the word jurisdiction. The fact that you have to use the word jurisdiction just proves my point. There is no final arbiter.
Yes, there is a final.
There's a final arbiter in this area. Okay, then they're not the final arbiter.
Right. So under anarcho-capitalism, hold on, that's fine. Let's concede this. Wait. Let's concede this.
There's no such thing as a final arbiter.
But let's concede this. This is fine. Under an anarcho-capitalist system, is there any final arbiter within a jurisdiction? Yes.
There's no such thing as a final arbiter. There's no such thing as a final arbiter.
So I just said within a jurisdiction. Hold on, you guys are being dumbasses.
There's no such thing.
Stop being a dumbass and listen.
There's no such thing as a final arbiter.
Around. Stop. I'm asking you a question. Okay, so I just gave you a clear example of how there is a final arbiter within jurisdictions in the world.
Yeah, the fact that you're using within this jurisdiction.
Hold on, stop talking. You keep getting on people about interrupting, and all you do is interrupt people. Calm down, dude. Okay,
All right,
so
keep going.
because what we have is a final arbiter in a particular jurisdiction, my question to you is, under anarcho-capitalism, would there be any final arbiter within a jurisdiction? Yes or no?
No, because there's no such thing as a final arbiter. And the fact that you keep saying in this
No.
jurisdiction just proves our point exactly, which means that no. They are not the final arbiter. There's no such thing as
you
a final
stupid?
arbir.
Because
Did you get
courts
dropped on
wouldn't
the head as a
have
child?
over areas.
I know
Courts wouldn't have
concepts are hard for you.
jurisdictions over areas. They would be dealing with individual cases. They're not just gonna have some like monopoly jurisdiction over some specific area.
The other
They're gonna
guys
take
think
cases
they
from
didn't like the
people,
judges
from
of this
specific
court that we
individuals, and then rule on them.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is, you know what's really interesting about this, right? Which
What?
is why maybe you guys should read. There's an entire chapter in the Communist Manifesto critiquing people like this, right? Where you talk about these ideas. You talk about ideas of things.
Says the guy who probably believes in the labor theory of value.
The things that, the things
Marx
that have
believed in
never
the labor
happened
theory
in
of
the world
value.
that you advocate for. Hold on. You talk about these things that ought to happen that have never happened in the entire history of humans. And you're saying this is how things would work, okay?
I mean, they have happened, I think.
Yeah, capitalism.
No, you're going to talk about medieval Iceland and you don't understand the Commonwealth, right?
Prospera.
I'll bring up medieval Ireland.
Yeah, and
Prospera
medieval
in
Ireland, they
Honduras.
literally had slaves. Are you dumb?
Yeah, that wasn't
Prospera.
that was not Ancap, but they had private courts.
You're
They had
fucking stupid, dude. You're fucking
They had
stupid.
competing private courts. They had competing private armies.
Communist
No.
countries had slaves.
No, what I'm
No.
saying is true.
Yes, they did.
You're denying.
Every time I join this chat,
China
I go,
has slaves.
This would be a good place to chill, and the first thing I hear is, "Did you get dropped on your head as a baby?" Like,
Dude, Artifix, bro. I'm talking to these Ancaps, bro. And they were talking about how you're going to homestead different parts of the ocean.